The Athene Real Talk Podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk Podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World-famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
Athene, tell me, what is better, investing in new technology or saving starving children? Well, it's relative to what has the biggest ripple effect and the biggest impact. You could say investing in technology is always better because as a result, you can have a much bigger reach. But the problem with technology is investing in technology doesn't have the same emotional feedback loop. And since I'm more about inspiring other people and basically creating clones of me on a mindset level, the best way of achieving that is first resonating on an emotional level. Technology is more cold. So I'm a fundraiser that doesn't fundraise for the sake of fundraising for charity, but I'm a fundraiser in order to get people to a certain level where they care more about doing stuff that is good for the world. And nothing works better than showing starving kids. If I show a laboratory while fundraising, it won't hit the same nerves. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's relative. You can't just say it's this or that. So in my case, the best thing I can do is not invest in technology nor saving starving children, but it's to use any of the two whenever it fits my agenda. What is my agenda? Moving humanity forward. What is the best way I've come to achieve that is by bringing people that are like-minded together and figuring out how to best progress from there, which is right now we are very much in blockchain technology. We're also working on a game. And we're also working on having a legal framework, not just for the place, but also for universal basic income towards the future. So these things happen, they grow organically. It's not just black or white. And they manage to make people that used to just be comfy creatures, potatoes behind their PC, becoming more skilled coders and such. You know, the beauty of logic is that when you have two individuals, right, that are truly honest with themselves, and look at any problem, they will always come to the same conclusion. And the conclusion doesn't have to be a singular answer. It can be several answers depending on the perspective you look at the situation. But when it comes down to, for example, evolutionary biology, and when it comes down to the way we have come to what we are, of course, it's a journey. It's a journey where you grow, where you learn, where your understanding can constantly warp and change. But it is by having this true connection with reality, about not bullshitting yourself and not looking at situations from a biased perspective, that you get to see the world for what it is. And it is a challenge because we all have this part in us that is denial. We all have this part in us that is biased, that wants to, believe and hang on what you're already used to. And that's the thing, when you are coming in this stream, right, and you're giving your own opinion or whatever the fuck, and you're getting confronted with facts and with a reality that just shows that you're being a hypocrite by just sitting on your ass and not taking responsibility and not act accordingly, then when you come and use the argument two different people can have different opinions, that's how you get to the truth. It's not even about the truth to you. To you, it's about trying to protect your lazy ass, irresponsible lifestyle, and that's it. It's not about coming to the truth. And when you try to even use that argument to make a point, you're just lying to yourself. Because you know, just as anyone else, that actions have consequences. And when you see the consequences of your actions, you just act accordingly in a consistent way. If you harm others, consistency means they can harm you too. And you know that is a framework that doesn't work. But if you can get away with harming others, because they cannot harm you, and you use that privileged situation to let your comfort and your whatever shitty habits toxicate the planet, that is dishonest on a fundamental level. And you know that shit. And it's not about coming here and saying we're the truth, this is that, whatever. If someone comes, right, and takes advantage of you and enslaves your family, then you can say you can have different opinions about the facts. I mean, you might say you've just taken my family and you're enslaving them, you're taking away their freedom, you're taking advantage of these people, this is not fair. The guy can say man, with all due respect, two people can have different opinions, upon the facts, that's how we get to the truth. You would say fuck you, man, fuck you very much. And that's exactly the point you are right now, where you're just coming, trying to use an empty little shield that holds some truth. Because of course that's how you get to the truth, by figuring out certain things. But the reason why you even bring all this shit up has nothing to do with the truth. Because when it's right in front of you and you just deflect it because it's easier for you, because it's more comfortable, you're not even trying to find the truth. And that shit doesn't fly here. Athene is one of the brightest minds of the 21st century. It's true. I would say not as just the 21st century. I would say in the history of human mankind. You might say like, but Athene, you're crazy. It makes a lot of sense. The person that invented fire, right, must have been pretty damn smart back in the days. But still, when you compare it to the average intelligence of anyone here right now, he would be pretty damn stupid. Because he didn't have education. He didn't manage to, develop his brain the way we did. Your intelligence is intertwined to your environment and the extent to which it enables you to grow. Every single person that is watching this stream right now is more intelligent than the average guy 4,000 years ago. Even the most intelligent people 4,000 years ago. Because you enabled yourself because of studying, reading and all that stuff. And as time goes by, technology just allows us to be more and more intelligent. More and more aligning with reality. If tomorrow Google comes up with some advanced deep learning AI that is more intelligent than any human, it would just be 1 billion times more intelligent than me. And then what? You think it's gonna hold in veil like, oh, this one guy that had these, you looking up to someone, right? Or going like, oh, this guy is more intelligent, this guy. It's a lack of intelligence. When you're truly intelligent, you understand that everything is interconnected. There is no like, oh, this or that or that or that. Things are just the way they are. And it's identity and ego, all these mental constructs that are complete illusions that make you start labeling things and putting things into packages. It doesn't matter whether I'm the most intelligent person on the planet or the biggest thinker. It doesn't matter. We're all interconnected. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't exist. And if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't exist. Everything is interconnected, man. Call it also the butterfly effect or whatever you want to call it. So to me, it's not like, look at me. But the thing is, since everything you do, right, is always channeled through this identity of, oh, I'm so important, spotlight effect. You're just delusional. You're holding up a mental image that doesn't even exist and you identify and say, this is me, I'm so good and I'm this and that. Doesn't exist. You're merely a never-changing unit without center. Your neural activity at this point, that's it. No more, no less. Right now, I'm part of your reality. Everything you see around you, the walls, the sounds, the smell, the structures, everything is part of your experience. Everything. There is no external. There is no you or me or whatever. Everything is what it is, and that's it. We are way more interconnected than we think. Something I also want to talk to Reese about, because I realize it more and more. We are way more interconnected. This idea of what we are, right, is way more interconnected with our environment than we think. And let me give you guys an example. If someone starts yelling, you find it normal that you get stressed, you back off or you fight or whatever. While if the person doesn't yell, it wouldn't be the case. So the environment really has a very big impact on the neural activity in your brain. It's literally intertwined. Same with me. Right now you guys are watching the stream. I'm directing a lot of your neural activity by just listening to my voice, seeing my facial expressions. So you have this intertwinedness. It's something we can all wrap our head around. Yeah, of course, if my house is on fire, I'm in trouble. You understand, environment, interconnect, but it goes further. So as we evolved, right, we just tried as life to be more and more aligned with reality, right? And of course, it requires certain interactivity with reality to the extent where things matter. For example, when we look at stuff, we just see a very small spectrum of the light waves. We can't see infrared, for example. And the reason why is because it's not that it requires more energy than it would benefit us to see infrared, at least in our evolutionary process. If it was really useful, we probably would be able to see infrared. Certain animals can actually. The reason why I'm explaining that is because what gets tapped into us, like extensions, just like a computer, you got a mouse and a keyboard and a screen. We have these traits that evolved through billions of years of evolution that make us more and more optimal to interact with reality. And the thing is, like, we're in a sense the mouse, we are the keyboard, we are the speakers, we are this plugin that connects with reality and tries to interact with it in a way that it can grow. So the mouse, the keyboard, or whatever can become better. We want as life to become better and better. And the reason why I'm giving this metaphor is because I thought, okay, there's a mouse, there's a keyboard, there is speakers. I understand what I am. I understand my connectivity with my reality. I get it. But there is way more than just keyboard, mouse, and speakers. We are connected with our environment in much more complicated ways than we're even aware of. And right now, I would say our senses, right? You have many senses. You have visual feedback, you have hearing, you have feelings and stuff. These senses allow us to connect us with the environment, to overcome obstacles, to help life move forward. The crazy thing is that I can understand when someone yells, right? That it affects me through the ears. Okay, I get it. But the thing is, though, they affect hormones level. Like, a lot of our behavior is defined by hormones. People are not aware of that. They can literally give you a pill, right, and makes you stressed as fuck. They can give you a pill that makes you anxiety. They can give you a pill and you're happy by giving you certain, like, serotonin, dopamine, cortisol, adrenaline, whatever the fuck, right? But the thing is that all these elements where your eyes connect yourself with the environment, your feelings, your touch, your ears, connect with hormones. So if someone yells, it gets processed. Okay, let's release these hormones. You go like, okay, it just explains it. But the thing is, what I started realizing is that it's not just about hearing and seeing or feeling. It's also about smell. And what I mean with that is, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it, but like, even if you close your eyes and you can't hear, you can get stressed when people are very stressed around you. Of course, it's not immediately, but they just exert certain pheromones, or what do you call it, that influence the hormone balance in your body. And this is something I've never learned. I've only come to understand it more and more because of PMS. What is PMS? It's premenstrual cycle. Girls have it. And basically, PMS, what it is it is a way for a woman to get ready for the period where she will become the most fertile, but also at the same time, what it does is it is a process of emotional cleansing for a woman. And what I mean with that is, like, guys don't have that, by the way, but girls do. When they are in PMS, everything they've gone through the past month gets basically processed. Just like in your dreams, your short-term memory gets stored into long-term. During PMS, there is a very big emotional processing of everything that has happened the previous month. And that's why women can be very unstable, I would say, during PMS. And can be very up and down and crazy. And that's why you also even have witches and stuff. Like, it's inspired by that. Exorcism is inspired by that. It's actually quite interesting, like even in the church, right? They have a certain herbs that allow you to suppress or to have less strong PMS symptoms, which is even being used for exorcism treatment and whatever the fuck. Either way, it's all just hormones at the end of the day. But what is very fascinating is that when girls have PMS around you, and that depends on, you know, when you're younger, PMS is not that for girls, right? It's not that dominant, but as you grow older, it becomes more and more heavy. And it goes away again once you reach menopause. But either way, the thing is that these PMS strong hormones affect guys and girls around them. And it is quite fascinating how insane the influence is. It's really something, because I've been really observing it for a while, right? Like, a lot of my cycle, right, whether I'm feeling good, having a good mood or a bad mood or whatever the fuck, is for a big part defined by PMS around me. And it makes a lot of sense from an evolutionary perspective that that's the case, because just like when we evolved really back in time, we didn't even have the way to conceptualize things. So how did you communicate a certain mood that is more long term? How did you do that? You couldn't explain it. You didn't have the cognitive abilities. You had to do it through different ways. And the system of PMS and stuff and communicating like that, the cycle or whatever, whether periods were stressful or not. I mean, these things are way more complicated than I can even wrap my head around. But if you would run simulations, funny thing is that's what you would get. There is very little about this. And the reason why there's very little about this is because people, when they experience something, they just automatically start backwards rationalizing in a very impulsive way. They don't go about it very analytical. And since we have this place here, it's very easy to measure these things. There's a lot of things we can measure that normally is just never done. I mean, like, you don't have communities or whatever that go about it in such a scientific way to optimize things. And it's very fascinating to see how when a girl has PMS, that it really affects the people around them in very, very measurable ways. And even though it makes sense on paper, I would never think that it also takes place in reality. But by being aware of that, you can really see how even when, let's say, you live with your family and your family has gone through a stressful time, even though guys are less sensitive to it, the PMS of women will make guys experience it more or less. And it's the same with, like, for example, very stressful periods with guys where you have a lot of cortisol and all that shit. When it drops, your immune system, you're more weak. You experience more anxiety. Do you know that the most heart shutdowns, or whatever it's called, are happening in the weekend in Japan, not during the week? And it's because when you are really on high adrenaline, your heart keeps pumping. It's really when there is a dip. And it's all connected to hormones. And it's just like we have this idea that how we feel is defined by me, by us, but it's not true. It's also very much literally physically connected with the environment. And if the PMS stuff was not that dominant, I wouldn't even talk about it. It's so crazy. I find it fascinating. You can literally experience what other people experience without talking or looking at them, if they would just be in your vicinity for a while. It's really surreal.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow The Real Athene on Snapchat.